Hello, my name's Mitch McQuigg, and today we're going to be doing the Week 6 assignment, and the issue I chose was food and safety regulation in the U.S. So addressing the issue, we've had a pretty substantial increase of outbreaks of foodborne illnesses in the U.S., and the policies and regulations that are already in place either have to be updated or heavily revised to reduce the risk of the public getting sick. The U.S. imports a significant amount of food, but we have pretty inconsistent safety standards abroad, and we don't really monitor the outbreaks that happen outside of the U.S. Of the food that we're bringing in. So we could also encourage customers to practice, or consumers to practice proper food handling, storage, teaching them how to use, or teaching them about the use by and the sell by dates, as well as bringing awareness about the different foodborne illnesses and the different types of food they're associated with. So on page 312, it heavily emphasizes Congress' legislative authority to pass laws in national policy areas, creating statutory law. So one thing that would be great to have in this law would be imported foods having mandated pre-import testing, enhancing inspections, and promoting international collaboration with the people that we work with. So the U.S. being proactive in this approach protects consumers, and it also would set a global standard for food safety as well. Mandatory pre-importation testing and certification for high-risk food products specifically, including produce, different seafoods, meats, dairy. These things would require proof of pathogen and chemical testing, showing that they're clear of these things. And there would also have to be an outline kind of defining what high-risk foods are in the law as well. So for the bicameral Congress system, the crash course video talks heavily about the differences between the House and the Senate. So the House, pretty much they serve the people in their districts and the people who voted them into their position. The laws or their decisions are basically made by the collective people in their district. They have to align with their values and their beliefs, whereas the Senate is more focused on international and national kind of concerns, or that's their main priority. So the Senate would be huge regarding food and safety regulation, incorporating a law that sets standards for global trade to promote safer food handling. And then how congressional leadership and committees impact the process. The crash course video about how bills become laws talks heavily about this. But congressional leadership and committees play a significant role in shaping and also influencing food and safety regulations at the federal level. Their involvement kind of spans from drafting, revising, passing laws, overseeing and enforcing all of the regulations that are put into place. All right, and next we have congressional decisions and their influences playing a role in how that could impact the process. So congressional decisions regarding food safety regulation are influenced by a pretty complex mix of political ideologies, different lobbying interests, economic factors, public pressure, institutional dynamics. There's a lot that goes into it. Lawmakers have to balance competing interest from industry pressures and public health concerns as well. They also have to factor in the weight of the economic and political implications based on their decisions. And just kind of understanding how all these influences work together gives a better picture of how policymaking all that goes into policy making, especially for just food and safety regulation at the federal level, is how intense it is. So next we have our kind of the power between Congress and the president and how that impacts the process. The separation of power between Congress and the president creates a pretty dynamic and also contentious relationship that influences food and safety regulation. Congress is responsible for drafting and passing laws, while the president is mostly for enforcing those laws and kind of shaping how they're implemented through executive orders, appointments, or even vetoes at times. So balance is really key here between the president and Congress, because there's that balance there, and they kind of work off of each other. It ensures that there's no single entity that kind of just totally dominates things like food and safety policies. The downside with this, though, is that it can create lots of conflicts, delays. It can change certain wording in the laws. It can just really drag things out. So now we're going to look a little bit about presidential powers and how it relates to food and safety, how congressional delegation and the governance can impact the outcome as well. So in the textbook, page 343 specifically talks about how the president kind of sits atop a massive collection of organizations, agencies, and bureaus, including Congress. So we talked about it a little bit on the previous slide. But presidential powers and congressional delegation play complementary roles, kind of what we talked about in the last one. There's a balance. So regarding food and safety, they would kind of align with what they think is right. There are two different points of views, and come to an agreement that what they think is best for the United States. And the president can direct agencies through executive orders. They can make critical appointments. They can influence the budget. Whereas Congress, on the other hand, kind of shapes the statutory framework, providing oversight. They control the funding on how, when these new policies or regulations are put into place, how we're going to pay for it, where the money's going to come from, things of that nature. But having these two powers together ensures that food and safety regulation is responsive to the public health, their concerns, and how it can also evolve to address new challenges that may arise through the new implementation of the law or the policy updates. So the outcome of the food and safety policies that would be put into place often hinge on the balance of political will, agency capabilities, and industry influence as well. It's all super complex. After diving into it, I'm surprised that a lot of this stuff actually even gets done because of all the people it has to pass through and all the different things that go into it. And there are my references. Thank you guys for your time.